I am here in the Pocahontas building. I was in Richmond for meetings today, and so I needed to come to the office so I could get a little bit of work done. But I am going to be glad to get home. Wanted to give you an additional update. I thought my next update was going to be from the district, but here I am back in Richmond. But that's par for the course, part of the job. I definitely wanted to remind you that April 3rd is veto session or reconvene session, where all 100 delegates and all 40 senators come back to Richmond at the Capitol. And in that one day, we act on what the bills and amendments and vetoes are that have come back to us from the executive branch. And so the governor has four options with any piece of legislation. He or she can sign it and it becomes law. Typically, those that become law are going into effect July 1st. And the exception to that is if there's an emergency clause. And if there's an emergency clause, then it goes into effect the date of the emergency clause. And the second thing that the governor can do is veto a bill. And then that veto comes back to the House and the Senate, and the veto can be overridden or sustained based on 2/3 of the vote from both houses. The third action can be to send amendments, and those amendments can be voted on when they come to the House and the Senate as well. And the fourth option, not a lot of people know, but the governor has the option to take no action, but that bill would also become law July 1st with no action taken. So you can go to lis.virginia, spelled out, .gov, and you can click on bills and resolutions. Then you can click on any of the options to see what kind of bills. You can see the ones that passed, the ones that have already been signed into law, and the ones that failed, just to get an idea of the legislation that we looked at this 2019 session. But again, those are the four actions that a governor can take, and a lot of the bills come with a deadline of March 26th for the governor to have taken action. So some of those bills are already being signed into law. House Bill 2473 that removes the exemptions from the minimum wage, which I carried, has been signed today, in fact. So that bill becomes law as of July 1st. And so that's pretty exciting. So we're watching the other bills as they come in. The other thing is that the governor can offer amendments to the budget. So House Bill 1700, that's the one that we've talked about. Delegate Aird and I discussed some of those items in our Facebook and Instagram live videos, and we've posted on it the whole track that has come from the conformity bill to how we tax to then the House budget, House Bill 1700 for the budget. That is all inclusive of the votes that we have taken on what the budget looks like. And so there is an opportunity for the governor to make amendments to that. One of the things that I'm super hopeful for is that the governor will make an amendment to put back in the $1.5 million that was in the introduced budget for census outreach. The federal government is so far behind. By this time, the last time we had the census, all 50 states had their field directors hired. Money had been appropriated. We are just so far behind that each state needs to really take a look at what they can do to make sure that there is a complete count. So the governor has established a complete count commission where citizens have been appointed to really do some hard work in making sure that outreach and resources are getting where they need to be. But that commission is, it needs to be funded. So I'll put it like that. The outreach work has to be done one way or the other. And if the federal government is not appropriating the funds, Virginia has to look out for itself. We got $18 billion from federal funds based on census data. And it is estimated that for every resident that is not counted, we could lose $2,000. And so to really understand that, it is the locality that would have to make up the difference for those services and and funds that are coming from the federal government. We're talking about healthcare, we're talking about criminal justice through the courts, we're talking about public safety, highways. Y'all, I have thoroughly enjoyed driving on the expanded 64 segment, but we got some more segments that we need funded based on our traffic patterns. There's the HRBT. I mean, we really need to get every single dollar that we can for our area, and that really means some significant outreach. Most of the 7 cities had a 60% return rate on the census for the first pass. That means the other 40%, 35 to 40%, needed extra outreach in order to hear back from them. And so that 1.5 million can go a long way to making sure that every Virginian is counted in order for us to get the federal dollars that we need to continue with really important services, so that the localities won't have to carry the brunt to make up the delta in that funding. And another date that I want to mention is March 18th. So if you'll remember, House Bill 2000 was where I was trying to get the minimum temperature that a room has to be cooled to from 80 degrees to 77 degrees. May not sound like a lot, but it's a world of difference. Right now, legally, a tenant a landlord or homeowner that is renting property only has to cool the room to 80 degrees. So instead of going through the legislative process, stakeholders and I got together, and we are going to fight for that in front of the Board of Housing and Community Development. And that emergency regulatory meeting is on March 18th. So please stay tuned, because we are going to continue to fight for that change. And that does not have to wait for July 1st. That could potentially be in place for May 1st. When it really starts to get warm. So it would be from like May to October that would be the requirement. So those are my updates, but please stay tuned. We have some upcoming events in March and April. We will have March office hours. After veto session, we will have several local updates, but a main town hall that we'll have in April. We'll be sending out a newsletter, and also we'll have April office hours. So those are some of the things that are coming up, along with some community events. So if you don't get our email newsletters, please go to delegatemarciaprice.com/volunteer, where you can volunteer for events, but you can also sign up for our email newsletters. I also post them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can look for those there. But we really try to push out a lot of important information, so we would love for you to subscribe to that. But other than that, I am about to head home and get back to the district so that I can continue working on these things that we have going on. So thank you for listening, and I will see you soon.